Welcome to the Mineral Way, your guide to better health. Discover the power of minerals and nutrients in supporting wellness and balancing your health routine. There's a better way. The Mineral Way.
All right, you guys, it's time for another edition of the Mineral Way. That means myself, Dave Michaels, will be joined by our good friend, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, to take your questions, address your concerns, talk about health and longevity products, maybe even talk about how to start your own business. You just don't know how it's going to go today. Ben Fuchs, welcome aboard the Mineral Way.
Do you think we talk enough about starting your own business?
I don't think we do, Ben. No, I really don't.
In this crazy time of economic uncertainty.
Oh, man.
You want to take the bull by the horns.
Take it.
Take the bull by the horns. Start yourself a business, and we're going to help you.
Oh, Ben, you know how much it costs to start a business. You got to rent an office. You have you have to get an apartment building up on top.
We took care of all that.
You got to get...
No. We took care of all that.
What do you mean?
You don't need nothing. You need your laptop. And you need to have some spunk.
Yes.
You need to have a spring in your step.
Some gumption, Ben.
Some gumption, yes. You need gumption.
Yes.
Those are the people who succeed in life anywhere. The people who have gumption.
Yeah.
What this does is it allows you to just have gumption. Usually you need gumption, and you got to have a lot of money, and you got to have relationships in banks and financial institutions.
Yeah.
With longevity, it's all about gumption. And a desire to help and make a difference in people's lives, for sure.
Yeah.
But really, it's this, it's just taking the bull by the horns, like I say, and it's not everybody's going to do that. But for folks who really feel like they want to really be in control of their lives, their financial lives, as well as their health, there's no better business opportunity. Yeah. So I read this article. Do you got something you want to talk about? I read this really cool article, I thought.
Well, yeah, go ahead and tell me about the article, Ben.
This is from Daily Mail. This is so cool. Unhealthy lifestyles and high cholesterol trigger a boom in statin prescriptions to a record 3.8 million. I know, we haven't talked about statins for a while.
Right.
But
are they really the boogeyman?
They were totally the boogeyman. Actually, you know what? As far as drugs go, there's worse drugs for sure. But the idea that you can suppress this fundamental molecule in your body, cholesterol, and somehow be better off for it in the long run, even though, in the short run you may slow things down, and that's how they work. They slow things down. Cholesterol is it's a growth and repair molecule. It's a stress management molecule, and it's a cellular protectant. It keeps cell membranes, the outside parts of cells, the membranes, which is the most important part of the cell in many ways. Is in fact Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I know is he's probably listening to this program. Actually, I know he's out there in Santa Cruz. He says, I'm just kidding. He's definitely not listening to us, but he says that the membrane's the brain of the cell. Did you know that? The membrane is actually the brain of the cell. It's the information processor of the cell, and it in many ways depends on cholesterol for its functionality. And so when you take a statin drug, you're universally, globally, systemically shutting down the production of this molecule, all because it's associated with vascular occlusion, or clogging, if you will. Now, it's true that clogs in the blood vessels or in the arteries are oftentimes have cholesterol or contain cholesterol. They're cholesterol plaques, as they say. But did you ever wonder why cholesterol deposits in arteries and not in veins?
I have never wondered.
You never
that.
thought?
No, Ben, I have not. I'm ashamed to say.
Your circulatory system is a circle, right?
Okay. Yes.
The name circulatory system starts in the heart and then goes a big circle and comes back to the heart.
Okay.
The way down from the heart is called the vessels on the way down are called arteries, and the vessels on the way up are called veins. Did you know this?
I did not know that either, Ben.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So we get a little biology and physiology lesson here. So it's a big old circle. The way down is the vasculature. The vessels on the way down are called arteries. The vessels on the way up are called veins.
Okay.
The veins are a little bit different from the arteries in the sense that the arteries have a lot of pressure. The veins are on the back end of the circle, so they don't have anywhere near the pressure. In fact, that's a big problem. And in order for the veins to really move, or the blood to really move through the veins, you got to be active.
Okay.
And this is one of the reasons why people get hemorrhoids and why they get venous insufficiency issues. And the blood, if you're not moving around, the blood doesn't really make it on the return trip as effectively, and it pools down to the bottom. Make sense? You follow me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving the blood around is very important. Now, why would cholesterol develop in the front end and not the back end? Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. You'd think if it's just in the blood, it would be everywhere, but it's not. Cholesterol deposits in the arteries, not the veins. The reason is, and this is the clue, and this is why this highlights the distinction between clinical chemistry and biochemistry or biology. Clinical chemistry is the chemistry of numbers and test scores and what's your cholesterol and your HDL and your LDL. Biology is a real science. Clinical chemistry is statistics and algorithms. So clinical chemists don't really care about this, but biochemists and biologists understand that cholesterol will build up in the arteries because cholesterol is a repair mechanism and there's much more pressure in the arteries than there is in the veins. So the arteries are much more susceptible to damage than the veins. You follow me? Mm-hmm. Because of the pressure. When you have high pressure in the arteries, this can damage the lining of the vessels, and cholesterol is a Band-Aid. Cholesterol deposits into the arteries to kind of patch things up, along with calcium and probably a few other materials. They deposit in the arteries to protect the weakening arteries. And inflammatory factors that are released as these arteries break down sort of recruit cholesterol and recruit molecules to form a Band-Aid. It's really quite an incredible mechanism when you think about it. It's like a super intelligent system. Point being that the cholesterol is not really the problem, it's helping us out. The real problem is the weakened blood vessels, the weakened arterial vessels, the inflammation in the vessels. That's the problem. But clinical chemists don't know this because they're looking at numbers, they're looking at test scores, they're not looking at the mechanisms. If you understand the mechanisms, and it's quite obvious, did I say anything that was hard to understand?
No.
It's not really that complicated. So if you understand the mechanisms, you understand you got to protect the vessels. It's not about shutting down this incredibly, unbelievably, arguably the single most important molecule in the body. A very compelling case could be made that cholesterol is the most important molecule in the body, and to shut it down, to just turn off its production, is ridiculous, foolhardy, and it doesn't solve the problem anyway. Because the problem is the weakening vessels, and they're not going away just because you lowered the cholesterol. But
so does an elevated cholesterol level mean that you have weakened arteries?
No. Well, partially it could be that your body's making cholesterol as a repair mechanism, but really what an elevated cholesterol levels, elevated production of cholesterol means your body's building, or it's repairing, or it's making hormones, or it's doing something. Cholesterol is tied into nourishment. And this is the real problem with elevated cholesterol. We have tricked our bodies over the last 150 years, especially, probably before, but especially over the last 150 years. We've tricked our bodies. We've told our bodies that they're supposed to be growing because for eons, when we got nourishment, that meant we're supposed to be growing. That meant we were hunting. We were looking for the woolly mammoth or whatever they did in the Paleolithic time. So nourishment signaled that it was summertime and that it was time to go out and forage and hunt and do all the things our Paleolithic ancestors had to do. So for thousands and thousands of years, when the body got nourishment, energy, if you will, it meant that it had to grow. But over the last 150 years, we figured out how to give the body energy without it needing to grow. So we're all getting lots of energy, but we're not needing to grow. In other words, we're not hunting. We're not going out and doing stuff. We're sitting on our couch eating the energy, but we're not doing anything. And so our cholesterol goes up because the body says, hey, I'm getting all this energy. It must mean that I got to be building. I got to be growing. But we're not. And so what ends up happening is we get fatter from all that energy because it's not being used. You follow? Mm-hmm. And so the real problem is the energy, the overnourishment. And I don't mean overnutriating. I meant overnourishment. There's a difference. Nourishment is energy. We get lots of that. We don't get the nutrients. So we're getting plenty of energy, right? Mm-hmm. Ice cream, French fries, hamburgers, pizza, cakes and cookies and soda pop and all the things that we eat to get energy, basically sugar. And that's why diabetes and elevated cholesterol go hand in hand. They're part of the same syndrome, overnourishment. That's the real problem. We are overnourishing ourselves when we don't need the energy because we're sitting on the couch. And to compound the problem, we're not getting the micronutrients. This is the key here. When you get the micronutrients into your system, your body will be able to use the energy more efficiently. That's why micronutrients are so darn important. They help the body utilize the energy from the macronutrients. And nobody talks about this. But the real issue today with our health is we are getting way too much energy in the form of macronutrients, mostly sugar, but also protein and fat, and nowhere near the micronutrients we need. And so a micronutrient supplement program it's not optional. It's a must. If you are interested in your health, if you're interested in longevity, and if you're interested in not deteriorating to the point where you're absolutely miserable, and that's really what's happening to people. It's not only that we're depriving ourselves of longevity, it's not only that we're depriving ourselves of health, it's that we're causing ourselves unnecessary grief, unnecessary suffering. That's really the problem. Now, I've never had a heart problem, and I know you haven't had a heart problem either.
No.
But I can only imagine what a heart attack must feel like.
Oh, geez. It's got to be
right?
horrible, Ben.
I mean, it must be the most horrible, horrible thing. I'm sure there's people listening who can, corroborate that. I'm just knowing as a healthcare professional what my patients, I've heard of my patients dealing with it, and I've talked to them, but it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. A micronutrient supplement program can save you from misery. It can add years to your life, functional years to your life, and it can eliminate or at least reduce the risk of chronic degenerative diseases, which are absolutely horrifically, biblically, epically an epidemic, and a gratuitous one at that.
Dang, Ben, you're scaring the daylights out of me, dude.
You should.
Jeez.
I don't know why everybody on planet Earth is not on this Beyond Tangy Tangerine. At least everybody's listening to this conversation. Everybody who's out there. Now, is Beyond Tangy Tangerine going to, eliminate the problems associated with your poor diet and lack of exercise and cigarette smoking and drinking? No, it's not going to eliminate it, but it's going to mitigate it. It's going to mitigate the risks. It's going to mitigate the toxicity, and it's so easy.
Oh, it's so easy,
It's
Ben.
so
And it's delicious.
easy.
There's no reason to not do it.
There's no reason to not do it. There's no reason to not do it for $70 for a month or 6 weeks supply. I mean, it's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. And I was saying this to MZ the other day. Jevy's got, I think, 2,000-3,000 products, something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Get the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. That's it. Get one product. Get the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Now, ultimately, you want the Healthy Star Pack probably, but get at least the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Is it going to eliminate the risks associated with lousy lifestyle? No, but it will mitigate them. It will reduce the likelihood of horrors down the road, and it'll give you more energy, and it'll help you lose weight, and if you're on medication, it'll help you reduce your lower your dose and ultimately wean yourself off.
I like that, Ben.
I
That
know.
sounds
Have I
great,
made a case
dude.
for this stuff?
Wow. I got to get some of this stuff.
Where do you get it? Mineral Way?
The mineralway.com. That's the best place
Or the
to go.
Dave Cave.
Or the Dave Cave, yes. But the Mineral Way is what we want people. We want people to focus on the Mineral Way because you can see all the stuff that we offer there, and you can also enroll as a distributor, Ben, which is the next level of
you can help your friends. You can help your family. Get your products at the wholesale price. You could write off your office and some of your rent or your mortgage or whatever it is, your gas. It's a business.
Yeah, your computer, your chairs.
All of that. All that. It's a business.
831-479-1080 is the phone number. 831-218-5726. KSEODave@gmail.com. I have a friend, Ben. It's interesting that you brought up cholesterol, who has elevated cholesterol levels. They have recently gone, I mean 6-8 months, gone mostly carnivore.
Okay.
And so they have an elevated cholesterol level. Their healthcare professional is encouraging them to take some kind of drug, I guess you would call it, to lower their cholesterol. They don't feel comfortable doing that.
I don't necessarily know that the carnivore diet is done correctly will raise cholesterol levels as much as a vegetarian diet. Because the vegetarians, the vegans and the vegetarians, I got a lot of vegans and vegetarian friends out there, and I'm not casting aspersions. But the fact is that as far as cholesterol goes and blood sugar goes, it's the vegan food that's the problem, and the vegetarian food is the grains and the beans. That's the problems.
Oh.
Those are the if you want to talk about cholesterol raising foods and blood sugar raising foods, it's the vegan and vegetarian foods. It's not the meat. It's not. And I'm not a big meat guy either, by the way. Meat's got its own problems, especially the way we farm and what we're feeding our cattle, et cetera. So the meat is not perfect either. But the idea that a carnivore diet is going to raise your cholesterol more significantly than a vegan diet is not correct. You don't get cholesterol by eating. Your cholesterol doesn't go up by eating cholesterol. That's not how it works. A little bit maybe. If you eat a ton of it, it might go up a little bit. But it's really a metabolic issue. It's a chemical issue, a biochemical issue. You've heard the term metabolic syndrome, right?
Yes.
It's kind of confusing because metabolism has a few different definitions. There's not like one definite definition for the word metabolism. So metabolic syndrome is kind of a hard thing for people to understand. Metabolic syndrome is whenever you hear the word syndrome, it means a bunch of things happening from one cause. Mm-hmm. So metabolic syndrome, that means there's a bunch of things happening from metabolism. Metabolism, in this case, is how your body makes energy. How your body makes energy is you eat a food and it gets turned into energy. Now, that's a very simplistic way of saying it, but the more food you eat, the more energy you make. However, that energy production depends on chemicals like cholesterol. So cholesterol is involved in the whole energy. And I'm going to say, let me rephrase that because that didn't come out right. Cholesterol is involved in as an effect of all of this energy. It's not involved in energy production. It's more like it's an effect from all of this energy that we're putting into the system. The real problem is metabolism, how we make energy. And that comes from overeating. Period. End of story. And when I say overeating, I'm not just talking about calories. I'm talking eating the wrong kinds of foods, which are super high calories. You want to do one thing, a simple thing to improve your health and add your longevity and increase your longevity. It's super, super simple. Lower your calories. Period. And by the way, Dave, eating is for kids. When you're old, you don't need, and by old I mean me and you. Not so much you. Not so much you, but me. No, you're still young. But as we get older, we don't need anywhere near enough the calories that we're taking in. As we age, we have to adjust that, but a lot of times we don't. Have you ever known, maybe this happened to you, like you're in your 20s and 30s, you can eat whatever you want, you don't even pay attention really, and you're not gaining weight, still got that six-pack, or at least you're thin, and then all of a sudden you're eating the same amount, but all of a sudden you don't have that six-pack anymore. You're not so thin anymore. You're eating the same amount. It's because as we age, we don't process our food as effectively, and we don't use the energy that's produced with anywhere near the facility that we do when we're young.
Well,
Both
that
of
sucks,
these,
Ben.
It does suck. But as we age, we don't need to eat, and you save money there. I don't mean that. I mean, you need to eat, but
Right.
You don't need to eat anywhere near as much as you think you do. And in fact, the reason we age so fast, and the reason we get so sick, and by sick I mean degenerate, inflammatory degenerative diseases, is because we're putting too much energy into the body that we don't need to be. So save your money, eat less, supplement more.
I like it, Ben. 831-479-1080 is the phone number. Let's head out to San Jose, Ben. Are you ready to answer a question?
I would love to. I love San Jose.
Clint is on line one. He wants to talk
Clint.
about triglycerides. You're in the air, Clint.
Clint.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Thanks for taking the call.
Thanks for calling.
Love having you on here. Love the topic. I'm a bit of a foods and nutrition geek myself. And
You
I
are?
wonder if you can
Are you
touch
vegetarian?
Yeah. No, not vegetarian. Just got stumbled into keto one day and kind of have stuck with that realm for quite a while now.
Okay.
Can you touch on triglycerides and how
Yes.
it's kind of a warning light to us when we get our cholesterol test?
Yes. Triglycerides are much more significant a metric than cholesterol. Triglycerides are the energy. Cholesterol is a functional molecule. It does stuff. Triglycerides are energy. Their primary use is to be like energy batteries, energy storage systems, and then the body will break them down when it needs to do work. So they're a combination of energy storage systems that the body can break down when it needs to get energy. That's basically what happens. Those are the markers of too much energy. The main markers of too much energy. Your elevated cholesterol is also a marker, but it's functional. It's doing things. Triglycerides don't do things. They just circulate in the blood. The body uses them for energy, and they're stored in fat cells. That's the problem. And high triglycerides are definitely a problem, and they're linked, like I said, to putting more energy into the body. The body will turn the energy into triglycerides. When I talk about too much energy in the body, it's in the form of triglycerides. And the triglycerides are a marker of all of this energy, and those are indeed a problem. The cholesterol is not the issue, it's the triglycerides. And yes, you do want to be careful of your triglycerides, and those are a clear marker that you need to pay attention to. Diabetes, kidney disease, there are drugs, hypothyroidism, there are drugs, all of these can also raise triglycerides, and then it's the high energy foods that are really the big problem, a lack of exercise as well, obesity as well.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to hear, and wanted you to share with everyone, because I definitely understand that marker, and I've seen people with triglycerides of 600 plus, and I was just shocked.
That's amazing.
Stop eating all the fast food.
Thank you for the call, Clint. 831-479-1080. We're hanging out with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. If you have any questions, you can give us a call. You can send them as a text message or an email. That's kscodave@gmail.com, 831-218-5726 with your text messages. Ben, are you still there? Oh, giving me the silent treatment, eh? Ben, did you hit that button that I told you not to touch? You did, didn't you? All right. Well, Ben, while you try to get reconnected, I am going to pick up Geronimo, and we'll get his question. Hopefully you will be back on the air by then, and we will see what happened. Yeah, I'm here, Ben. I am here, Ben. Are you there, Ben? Question mark.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Ben.
What happened to you?
I don't know. You hung up on me.
Did I hang up?
Something happened.
No, I was just talking.
Everything went dead, including our caller.
Did you hear that thing happened in Spain, in Europe today?
No, what happened?
They shut down, man. The whole grid went down.
Really?
Yeah, in Spain and Portugal.
Oh, Ben, there you go, dude. Oh, no. Well, let's get out to Cupertino. We'll pick up Geronimo, and then we'll get the question, and then I'll run it by Ben. Geronimo, thank you for the call. You're in the air.
Thank you, David. Question for Guru Ben. How do we strengthen the vessel, the arteries, the capillaries, besides tangerine? What else can we do?
Okay, so you want to know what can we do to strengthen the arteries, the blood vessels, the capillaries, all that kind of stuff. What can we do to strengthen those, right?
Besides drinking tangerine. What else can we do?
Besides drinking tangerine. Okay, I'm going to ask him that when we get back on the air here. Geronimo, thank you for the call. Keep it tuned in because we're going to be answering your question very quickly here. Hey, Ben. Okay, well, thank you for the call, Geronimo. Ben Fuchs is going to be joining us now. Geronimo's question was, how can we strengthen arteries, blood vessels?
Yeah, I'm back here. I don't know what the heck's going on.
I don't know what's going on either, Ben, but Geronimo called from Cupertino, so his question was, other than BTT, what can we do to strengthen our arteries, blood vessels, the circulatory
Great
system?
question.
Yes.
Great question. Yeah. So the circulatory vessels that are deteriorating can be supported by building connective tissue. The connective tissue is what it's all about. Now, the actual breakdown is like on the surface of the connective tissue. It has a different name. But by strengthening the connective tissue, not only will you prevent these deposits from forming, but you'll also prevent the fats and the cholesterol from sinking into the vessels. That's one of the problems is when the vessels become weak, the fats sink into the vessels. You follow me?
Yeah.
They actually, they're not just coating the surface, they're actually forming roots into the vessels. By building the connective tissue, you can help prevent that. And that's why I've always said building connective tissue is the very essence of anti-aging and overall health, as for young people too, but especially as we get older. And that's our whole Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, OsteoFX, Glucogel Caps, TMR Shake. And I want people to understand, I know we've talked about this before. You got to keep saying hi there because I don't know if you're...
Yeah, I'm here, Ben.
Okay, good.
I'll breathe into the microphone.
Yeah, do something like that, exactly. I know we've talked about it before, but when we talk about like the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack and the OsteoFX, oftentimes people think, oh, it's for arthritis, right? Mm-hmm. Or osteoporosis, maybe. No, it's for the entire connective tissue system. And the connective tissue system is everywhere. It's in the blood vessels. It's in the skin. It's in the fascia.
Is it in my toenails?
It's not in your toenails.
Aha,
no.
I got you there, Ben.
But it helps your toenails grow. The connective tissue helps things grow because the connective tissue acts like a womb. I think we may have talked about this before, where the cells are embedded in the connective tissue, and the connective tissue, just like a womb, feeds the baby and oxygenates the baby and detoxifies the baby. The connective tissue does all that, so everything works better, including your toenails. I mean, no kidding, you'll get stronger toenails, you get stronger hair, stronger fingernails. Everything in the body works better when the connective tissue is supported. The connective tissue is the key to everything. And you know what the best food for connective tissue building is?
I'm going to say some kind of gelatin.
Very good. Bone broth.
Ah.
Bone broth. And that's why bone broth is a power food. Maybe eggs are pretty darn powerful. But next to eggs, I'm thinking bone broth. I'm trying to think if there's anything more powerful than bone broth. I can't think of anything more powerful than bone broth off the top of my head. Maybe there is something. Eggs are up there too. Those are the two most powerful foods you could eat. And if you're a vegan, vegetarian, you ain't going to get that stuff. And I love my vegan friends, and I'm not a big meat guy, but there's things in bone broth that you're not going to get from vegetable soup.
Right.
And they're really important for your health.
831-479-1080, 218-572-6. Tom in Monterey is going to be up next, but I got to ask this question from someone in the Dave Cave, Ben.
Yes, sir.
They want to know, what is the best way to cleanse liver and kidneys? What's the best way to cleanse, Ben?
Water is the best way to cleanse your kidneys, but really, cleansing is really the best way to cleanse is to not put the toxins in. That's the best way to cleanse. So if you want to cleanse your body, do something called fasting. When you fast and you stop the stream of toxicity that comes into the digestive system, into the body, something very fascinating happens.
What?
Your body goes into cleaning mode.
Oh.
It goes into cleaning mode on two levels. It goes into cleaning mode in a macro level, in a big level, in a bird's eye view level, and that's your intestine. It cleans out your intestine. And I don't want to be gross here, but we're all adults, and when you fast, you'll have the best bowel movements like 2 days into your fast. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever fasted?
No, not for 2 days, Ben.
Okay.
I would go crazy. I would get grumpy and start screaming at people.
Even if you do it no, it gets easier, actually.
Oh.
The first half a day is the hardest. So it gets easier. But anyway, when you fast, you'll have the best bowel movement, first of all, because in a macro sense, your body cleans itself out. But in a micro sense, it cleans itself out as well. And that is the cells, particularly the cells that are doing all the detoxifying work, like the cells in the liver. The body will clean out dysfunctional cells. They call that autophagy. You may have heard that term. Mm-hmm. Autophagy is when the body cleans out the cells. So the best way to clean out the body is to fast. Now, there are nutrients that will support liver health, and I don't know if you probably know Dr. Ariasa. He's out there.
Yes.
He's got an incredible liver cleanse product.
Yeah, man.
I
hear all kinds
really
of great
incredible.
things about that. Yeah.
And that is something that you might want to consider doing. And there's also phyto, meaning plant, phytonutrients that can be very helpful for the liver, particularly in cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables contain really important detoxifying molecules, particularly for women. In fact, if I was a woman, I'd be doing cruciferous vegetables every day, especially menopausal women, because it has powerful estrogen protection benefits.
Oh.
And then also the phytonutrients in broccoli and Brussels sprouts. You love broccoli, don't you?
Oh, yeah,
You're
of course.
Broccoli
man.
country out there.
Yeah.
I never understood how people didn't like broccoli. That always kind of cracked me up.
Weird.
It's so delicious. Braised and Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts. I'm going to have Brussels sprouts today, Ben.
What's that?
I'm going to have Brussels sprouts as soon as I get
know,
home.
isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts. Do you roast them or you put like spices?
These are pickled with garlic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I'm looking forward to that.
Isn't that Brussels sprouts countries in Central California?
Oh,
Brussels?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Brussels sprouts are amazing. All the cruciferous vegetables are amazing for the liver. Vitamin C, vitamin E, essential fats, vitamin A, nutrients. The liver is the liver is really interesting because it does so many different things. When most people think of the liver, they think of toxicity or detoxification, which is true. But really the liver is it's like a warehouse. Everything's stored in the liver. Aminos and B vitamins and fats and fatty vitamins and all the nutrients are stored, sugar, all the nutrients are stored in the liver. And then when the body needs them, the brain sends signals, and then it's released from the liver. But the liver's like the storehouse. And I was never in the military, but I know in the military they have like warehouses where they keep the uniforms and the shoes. You know what I'm saying? And when they're needed, they send signals, and they release the shoes and the uniforms, whatever they need. And that's kind of what the liver is. It's a storage department. And it stores pretty much everything in the way of energy and nutrients, which makes it pretty darn important. And if you have liver disease, it's serious, because now all of a sudden your body doesn't have an ability to access the nutrients it needs. So yes, the liver is important for detoxification, and so we talk about all these detox things for the liver, but really the liver is a storage, it's a storage depot, if you will, for nutrients, particularly sugar. And that's why sugar is so specifically harmful to the liver, because especially fruit sugar, by the way, fructose.
So for as far as cleansing goes, Ben, you recommend fasting, lots of water, and if they do want to get a liver cleanse product, Longevity offers.
Dr. Arias's liver cleanse, absolutely. I think there's probably a couple other liver cleanse products. I know the Stay Natural line's got some liver cleanse products. The problem, I don't like the herbs. Because the herbs just put more work for the body. So, there are herbs they use for liver cleansing. I'm a nutritionist more than I'm an herbalist. I definitely have respect for the herb. They're medicinal for sure, and they're supportive. But they're still medicines. And the liver's already doing a lot of work, presumably, if you're trying to take care of your liver. So I'm a little leery about some of the herbs they use for the liver, like, for example, milk thistle, Jerusalem artichoke, and there's a few other ones. I prefer using nutrition simply because the body it's better able to make maximum use of nutrients, and it doesn't have to worry about detoxifying them like it does with herbs. Herbs have to be detoxified like drugs.
Wow.
There's medicine in herbs. Herbs, in fact, the original medicines were herbs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dr. Arias liver's cleanse, you will cleanse. The stuff will come out. That's for sure.
I've seen pictures, Ben. I don't want to tell you what I saw pictures of. It's incredible.
It's incredible, right? That's all in your liver.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Anyways,
and gallbladder too.
Let's get out to Monterey and pick up Tom. Thank you for the phone call, Tom. You are in the air.
Hey, Tom.
Thank you very much. I really do respect Dr. Ben.
Pharmacist
Ben. He really has a great knowledge of things. I have a couple of questions. One is, I was just diagnosed about a year ago with a 80% blocked vascular artery. And so 80% with your heart and so on. Maybe they put a stent in, but in this case, they don't do it. So I'm asking, are you familiar with anything that is there anything that would reduce calcium?
Chelation. You know what that is?
Really?
Chelation therapy. It's a must.
Chelation
therapy, there's several ways to do chelation too. Number one, you can actually have a whole procedure done where they inject stuff into your, and it's not a serious procedure. You can have a chiropractor do it. I think naturopaths can do it. They inject something called EDTA in your blood, and it magnetically pulls out all that stuff. In fact, a lot of other toxins in the blood will get pulled out. It's a great therapy. Doctors hate it, but it's great. You want me to spell it? You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. I've heard of it.
Okay, chelation, Chelation. And then there's also nutrients that are chelating agents that you can take. Sulfur, for example. Anything with sulfur is going to be a chelating agent. MSM, for example. Selenium is a chelating agent. It has a magnetic pull, and it will pull toxins out. Vitamin C is a chelating agent. Plant-derived minerals have chelating properties, particularly ionic minerals have chelating properties. So, yes, chelation is definitely a strategy that you want to employ. And then slowing down the formation of these plaques by all the things we just talked about, which is basically not putting as much energy into the system. If you heard what I was talking before, how energy into the system tricks the body into making these triglycerides and cholesterol. And so easy on the energy is another major strategy for improving. But that's more long-term. What you're talking about is reducing the plaques. And yes, chelation is the way to go. Now, I don't know how severe your plaques are, so I can't tell you, what to do exactly. But definitely chelation therapy is an incredibly valuable, in my opinion, longevity promoting as well as vascular health promoting protocol or strategy.
So now, what product do you have that would?
Lots. Ultimate MSM. Dave, help me out. Ultimate MSM, CFX,
Ultimate
all the plant-derived minerals. And by the way, we talk about the colloidal minerals, because Doc's big on colloidal minerals, plant-derived minerals. But there's also ionic minerals in there. And the ionic minerals are one of nature's best chelating agents. You probably get some from colloidal minerals as well, but it's definitely the ionic minerals will do it too. So anything that's got plant-derived minerals in it will do it. And that's the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which I love, as you know. And then also the mineral toddy. Dave, help me out with these mineral drinks.
We have the plant-derived minerals, which is a
and
great
the herbal rainforest, I think.
Herbal rainforest is fantastic as well, yes.
Yeah. Anything with the plant-derived minerals.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you for the call, Tom. 831-479-1080-218.
I like Tom.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He tried to catch you off guard, Ben. He asked you something that you were...
No, I know. He said he knows a smart healthcare professional when he hears me.
You got that right. Now, Ben, let's pick a product. I'm going to pick a product, and we're going to talk about it just for a few minutes.
What, randomly? You're going to shock me?
Random? Well, not really random. Fucoid Z, Ben.
Oh my God!
Tell me about Fucoid Z.
No, I can't possibly tell you. By the way, that's another chelation properties also. I could not possibly tell you in the short amount of time we have, but suffice it to say, it is probably the most powerful, multifunctional, non-nutritional supplement that you can buy, you can carry. It's got the key ingredient in there is stuff called fucoidin, obviously. Mm-hmm. Fucoidin is of a class of molecules that are called polysaccharides.
Okay.
So saccharide means sugar. There's many. And these polysaccharides are long chains of sugar. Starch is a classic polysaccharide. So when these sugars are strung together, they have incredible properties. I mean, incredible. Mostly around electricity. These long chain polysaccharides are and there's a lot of them, are powerful magnets. I'm trying to be colloquial here. And they have this incredible magnetic properties that allows them to function as building blocks, as wound healers, as structural components. The body is a combination of solids and goo, right? Or solids and liquids. That's what the body is. And polysaccharides are the bridge between the solid and the liquid. And they pull everything together, which makes them incredibly important for a lot of different things. For one thing, for wound healing and for growth and repair. For another thing, for blood health. Their electrical properties give them an ability to facilitate the movement of fluids. So they play a major role in how fluids move in the bloodstream, in the fluidity of the blood. In fact, if you have surgery, have you ever had surgery?
No, thank goodness, no.
Yeah, you're pretty remarkable, Dave.
Thank you for noticing, Ben.
So if you go into surgery, one of the first things that happens, one of the first responses of your body to being cut open is clotting. And this is an evolutionary mechanism because your body doesn't know you're in a surgical procedure in an operating room. It thinks you're on the African savannah and a lion just ate you or bit your leg off or something.
That's bad.
So it will clot as an attempt to kind of keep you from bleeding all over the African savannah. And so that's a problem because people who have surgeries are prone towards blood clots, and doctors, blood clots can be a problem. Mm-hmm. So they'll give you something after surgery to keep your blood from clotting. And that something is a polysaccharide called heparin. You've heard of it, right? Heparin? Yeah, it's a polysaccharide. But you can do the same thing with fucoidin, not as intensely, but fucoidin does the same thing because it's a polysaccharide. Hyaluronic acid, another classic example of a polysaccharide that everybody knows about. Polysaccharides have incredible properties. So it's a blood thinner. Okay. It's also a building block. So it's important for wound healing, growth, and repair. But there's more. These polysaccharides are also key critical components of cells, particularly cell membranes. And so if you're going to be growing and you're going to be repairing, you need polysaccharides to build your cell membranes. Then polysaccharides, and this is where most people know about these polysaccharides, particularly fucoidin, is they play a major role in the health of the immune system. They're powerful immune strengthening molecules. Immune cells are very, very responsive to polysaccharides, and polysaccharides stimulate immunity. That's why, you probably heard this, bone broth is called Jewish penicillin, largely because of its polysaccharides. Fucoid, if you look it up on PubMed, which is like a database for scientific studies, you'll see hundreds, if not thousands of studies on Fucoid, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of studies on Fucoid as an immune booster for fighting cancer. That's what it's most known for, is for building, supporting the immune system, and that's because it's a polysaccharide. And the polysaccharides support immunity. So you're getting building for growth and repair. You're getting, especially for the connective tissue, which we talked about before. In fact, deteriorating connective tissue in many ways is at least partially the result of polysaccharides, of lack of polysaccharides. And that's why people take high hyaluronic acid. Have you ever heard of this, taking orally high hyaluronic acid?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why you take it, because it's a polysaccharide. It builds your connective tissue. Connective tissue is everywhere. You can use Fucoid, the polysaccharide Fucoid, for connective tissue everywhere, including your eyes. And so when you ask to talk about it, it's impossible to give it enough props and to really go into detail, because it's good for every single thing in the body, every single biochemical right?
Wow.
And it's
great.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
Non-toxic, as much as you want. Can you imagine a drug that came out that had all of these benefits for all these different systems of the body and was non-toxic?
Ain't gonna happen.
Right.
That's not
exactly.
gonna happen.
And so, the bottom line here is we are not, because we don't study chemistry. We're kind of intimidated by chemistry. One of the things I like to do, people always say, "Oh, you make it so simple and easy to understand." Well, I want it to be that way.
Right.
It shouldn't be that hard. It's not that hard. And it's not even me making it simple. It's just that it is simple, and everybody else makes it difficult.
That's because they want to sound smart, Ben. They use these big words that make them seem like the elite. Just use regular words.
Big words.
Yeah,
it's very simple here. It's really very simple, because the body wants to heal. It's got systems in place that heal every single time you cut yourself, that heal themselves. So it's not that difficult.
I like it, Ben. 2 more phone calls, Ben. Let's see if we can fit them both in. The first up is Jim. He's got a question about alcohol, and then Ron in Carmel has a question about arthritis. But Jim is up first. You're in the air, Jim. Thank you for the call.
Alcohol? Did you say?
Ben.
Yes.
Hey, Ben. I'll make it really quickly. First, and I'll take my answer off the air. So, first, I'd like to know what you'd recommend to take for somebody whose body is adjusting to quitting alcohol to revitalize your body. And then the second thing I wanted to ask you, and this is something no one talks about very much, is how much is a healthy level of alcohol to consume? Is it like 2 drinks a week? Is it like, what does pharmacist Ben drink a week? No alcohol? 2 drinks a week, 2 bottles of wine at night?
I've had my moments, don't get me wrong, okay? There's still people who won't talk to me, put it this way. So I've had my moments. I could put it away pretty good. And I was like a binge drinker, in the sense that I would, like, when I went out and, you know what I like alcohol for?
No.
It makes crappy music sound better. Like, you go to a bar, the music sucks, and then you have a couple drinks, and all of a sudden, man, it's not so bad, right? And so that's the best time for alcohol. But ever since COVID, I haven't really gone out, and I haven't really drank it. I don't like it. So it's poison. Period. Maybe a sip.
I always wanted to know, like, for a guy who struggled with alcohol like myself, what did
you don't struggle with alcohol, though.
How much
but you don't struggle with alcohol. Let me tell you what you struggle with. And this is the big problem with alcoholism, and this is why there's so much recidivism. Because you're struggling with what you're using the alcohol to medicate for. You follow me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Oh, yeah, totally.
And that's a big problem. We think it's the alcohol or the drugs or the fentanyl or whatever it is. It's the thing underneath that we're self-medicating. You're just coping. You're just dealing. You're dealing with it as best as you can. Now, the fact is it's addicting, and so you need more and more, and there's all kinds of things that keep you going. But the real problem is what you're trying to medicate. You follow me?
Yeah, you have another caller, and I want to make sure you get to him. So
B
quickly,
vitamins and electrolytes.
What would you recommend?
B vitamins and electrolytes, like they're going out of style, and that's the most important. The B vitamins, particularly thiamine, vitamin B1, but all of them. B vitamins and electrolytes. Those are especially deficient in those class of nutrients are especially problematic for alcoholics. In fact, that's what they put in your blood if you go into detox. That's the first thing they put in your blood. But I don't want to marginalize the other ones. They're all important, but B vitamins, electrolytes, and vitamin C stand out.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Okay.
Thank you for the call, Jim. 831-479-1080. Ron in Carmel has a question about arthritis. Ben?
Yes, sir.
You're in the air.
I've got rheumatoid arthritis.
That's a miserable one. But it's very easy to deal with.
And I'm trying to find out, how does the pig pack work?
It's not a pig pack issue, but the pig pack will definitely help. But no, it's a digestive issue. Rheumatoid arthritis, and we're going to run out of time here. How much do we have? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. So rheumatoid arthritis is a class of pathologies that are called autoimmunity, and I'm sure you know this. I'm talking to the listeners. It's an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune diseases are diseases where the body attacks itself. And the great mystery that no clinician can understand is, why the heck would the body attack itself? So they call it, no known cause. Your mother had it, your grandfather had it, it's in your DNA, blah, 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 baloney. There's a logical reason, because the body's eminently logical. There's a logical reason why the body attacks itself, why the immune system turns its very significant weaponry on the organs and tissues of the body, in your case, the joints and the connective tissue. This is the reason. Once toxicity gets into the bloodstream, that toxicity will eventually make its way into tissues. Toxicity in the bloodstream is a big problem, and the blood or the body will take those toxins and dump them out into the connective tissue and the soft tissues and the glands, various parts of the body. And so then those parts of the body look foreign. They don't look right. They're disturbed. They're distorted, and the immune system will then turn its armamentum, its weaponry, on that tissue or a gland or whatever it is. Does that make sense? Did I explain that, Laura?
So far.
It comes from toxicity that's leaking in through the gut. Now, I've always talked about dirty blood. That's really underlies everything, including autoimmunity. Logic tells you, again, just being logical here, logic tells you there's only two ways that the blood is going to become toxic. One is through the skin, and one is through the intestine. That's it. And we know that if you inject things through your skin, you can get autoimmune diseases from that. That's one of the things that happens when people inject things into their skin. They get autoimmunity. Well, but for most people, that's not the problem. For most people, it's through the intestine. So rheumatoid is an intestinal issue. It involves messed up gut bacteria, and this is one of the reasons why they give antibiotics, by the way, for rheumatoid. Did they put you on minocycline?
Not yet, no.
No, that's what they do for that. So basically, I don't want to be long-winded here, work on intestinal health. That's the most important thing you could do. You can definitely do the pig pack. You should definitely do the pig pack, no doubt about it. You should do glucosamine, which is in the pig pack, glucogel we call it, and then also you need to have vitamin C. Vitamin C is the great missing link in all of our health issues. Have an element of vitamin C, either deficiency, we'll say. It might not be a full-blown deficiency, but not enough vitamin C to really run the body. So vitamin C is critical for building the connective tissue, and I'd be doing high doses of vitamin C as well. And then the pig pack also has the ultimate EFAs, which I wish we could talk about because we're running out of time here, but you can think of those as nature's aspirin. They're natural anti-inflammatories, and that means everything that has to do with anti-inflammation, including pain relief. And so for rheumatoid, because you got all this inflammation going on, ultimate EFAs, and I would be taking 9 to 12 of them a day. And don't forget your bone broth.
Tetracycline or minocycline?
That's a god-awful drug. There's worse, but it's not a good thing. Did they put you on minocycline?
Not yet, no.
No. I would be doing, if you got to know, you sound like you're in your 50s or 60s, I'm guessing, right?
I'm 77.
Oh, you're 77. So you got to know you've had digestive things going on. Nobody has rheumatoid without digestive things, period. So you got to know that, and you're 77. It's probably been going on for a while. That's where you got to work. Minocycline is going to mess it up, because minocycline kills the good bacteria. We already probably have messed up bacteria. There's a condition called SIBO. Have you heard of this, Dave? SIBO?
I have not.
SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that is almost always under or behind leaky gut, at least partially. Leaky gut can be caused by a lot of things, but there's usually an element of small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and a lot of foods that are considered to be good foods can actually make the problem worse. But we are out of time, David.
We're out of time. Thank you for the call, Ron and Carmel. And again, we're going to be having some. We got to do some Zoom
We got to do
meetings.
some Zooms.
But we got to build up our list here, Ben. Our downline, as they would call it.
There's a peep out there. You guys want us to do some Zoom calls? You want to do some personal counseling here?
Pharmacist Ben, thank you for joining us.
Thank
what
you.
a job you did, dude. Fantastic job, Ben.
Next Monday.
KSEO Santa Cruz.